Hello everyone, welcome to episode 4 of beginners and tips. Beginners and tips on starting a podcast. Now that you hypothetically have got the podcast, it's time to edit and produce a final version of the podcast. So remove mistakes like or whatever, enhance the audio quality and add music or effects that make your podcast more engaging. Yeah, so without any more words to say, let's get started. So, an introduction to audio editing. Editing software is essential for refining your podcast. Uh, podcast free tools such as Top Option, Audacity, and GarageBand, as mentioned in the last video, are great for beginners just like me. Well, and you who is watching the video. But if you're watching this video and want more, platforms or tools, um, I have a couple of them here. So we have Adobe Audition, Reaper, Hindenburg Journalist, and Descript. These are brands that are audio editing softwares that you can use to make your podcast better, edit some mistakes out. Obviously, I'm not saying you can only use these, but these are some just suggestion. And also remember, don't choose the most professional ones just because they're professional. Use the ones that are in your needs and also budget. But yes. So speaking of editing, I want to teach some editing techniques. So the first step of editing is cutting out unnecessary parts, long pauses, mistakes, or off-topic discussions. Number two is removing background noise. Use noise reduction tools to remove background noise and balance audio levels so voices are clear, which is step number three. Number four is cutting out filler words like like. Considering reducing filler words to make your podcast more polished or more air pleasing. I know this is really contradictory to me right now, but yes, we move on. um, Adding music and sound effects. Adding music can make your podcast more engaging. Using royalty free music for intros and outros are good because if you don't not necessarily, but most music that are not royalty free usually are copyrighted. And when you are trying to make money, of course that shouldn't be your only goal on making a podcast, but it should be one of the main goals. But yeah, but if you're trying to make money with your podcast, I suggest you choose royalty free music because it's non copyrighted. Yeah, not all of it. Choose the ones that are not copyrighted. That's the most important part. And the reason why royalty music is good is because it enhances the mood, it smoothens the mood for the watcher or listener. Next, sound effects. Use sound effects for transitions and emphasis. Sound effects can be great for transition, but should be used carefully so they don't overpower your content. And the last thing is always mix audio levels properly. So, um, uh, ensure proper audio mixing to avoid distractions means that you should level, as stated earlier, you should level the audio so that the background music doesn't overtake you, so that the watcher or listener isn't only listening to you to the music but also you. That's the main part of making a podcast. Next is creating a engaging intro and outro. Now, personally, an outro should be I know here it says 10 to 30 seconds, but in my opinion, it should be shorter, like 5 to 10 seconds, because you just want to introduce yourself, introduce the podcast, so that your audience doesn't get distracted by your intro words. What should you say in your intro? Well, number one is introduce yourself and the podcast topic, and use a consistent voice. So if you want to have a consistent voice, like sorry, you should, if you want that, then use that in the intro, but don't use it in the podcast, because then your esophagus or throat will hurt. As for the outro, keep it simple. Use a thing called include a call to action, which is SFR, which is subscribe, follow, and review. Which means you tell the viewer or the listener to subscribe to the podcast, follow your podcast, and also leave a comment about the podcast, which I think you should do right now about this video. Quick interlude. Second thing is exporting and finalizing your podcast. Now, after you record, there's editing. Now, after you edit, you need to export your podcast file in MP3 format, or MP3 or MP4 for compatibility. Second is ensure proper bit size. So ensure that the bit rate of your podcast is proper. So a good range would be 129 to 122 bit rate per second for good quality. Third is double check audio levels and Android season, so that when you are posting your podcast, it's the final version. Last step, save. So to summarize what I talked about today, number one, editing enhances the quality and flow of your podcast. Number two, using the right software and applying key techniques. Number three, add music and effects carefully to improve engagement of the podcast. Fourth is finalizing and export your podcast in the correct format. Now, in next episode, we will be talking about launching and marketing, getting your podcast out to the world or to other audiences. Thank you for listening. I really have nothing else to say except for SFR, which is, as said earlier, subscribe, follow, and leave a review or comment. See you in the next episode. Bye. Have a nice day.